This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. And wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And now ready to drink cocktails like High Noon, Crown Royal, and Jack Daniels. And the pickle bar led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Stock up now for a big weekend. And for New Year's Eve and a big New Year's Day. It is all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. All right. Anything lined up for tomorrow yet? I mean, I know you've been working hard on it.
No, not quite yet.
Okay. Because the Boise State play-by-play guy used to Bucknell.
Yes.
Right.
I'm wondering if they are off, or I haven't heard from anybody on the Boise State side.
Well, Boise State is they're practicing tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, they're in Boise. They're not going to excuse me. They're not going to the game site until Saturday, like Penn State. That I do know. Wow.
I'm just hoping everybody was away from their email at Christmas. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. It sounds impressive, yeah.
You know Susie Sunshine over here.
I got you. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, that story on tips was great, but, I mean, when the suit was in the restaurant and said, oh, my God, all for me, I mean, you got to worry about guys like that, don't you? I mean, really.
That's why you leave the tip after they walk away.
Oh, no, the suit hovers. He goes table to table. It says it's just really, it's really kind of a sad thing. All right. We talked about the NFL. Suppose the NFL is they're somewhat upset, by the way, at the quality of game they got yesterday. Well, it's the way it goes. You scheduled it. I mean, the NFL's an interesting group. I remember back years ago, the NFL's on a roll. I mean, they were on a real roll. I said, man, I said on the show, they can almost do no wrong. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ray Rice happened, Adrian Peterson happened, deflated footballs, which they botched up themselves. Then, of course, they went through all the kneeling stuff and things like that, and they lost 7% of their audience. And what are they doing? In other words, what I'm saying is they're prone to mistakes. And when you make mistakes, when you get too comfortable. Okay? And right now, the NFL acts like it's a little too comfortable. Yeah, we'll put games up against the college football playoff. Who cares their feeder system? And did they win? Yeah, they won. They won the day. Ratings-wise, they did. Right? We'll make people watch it on Netflix and pay extra. Right? They did it. Okay? Yeah, everybody's like talking about it. The picture quality was great. Yip-de-doo. It should be. Chiefs playing on 6 different days of the week, all except Tuesday. Really?
Again, I wouldn't say that too much. They could schedule a New Year's Eve game yet.
I know. I understand. I understand. They could do it if they wanted to. It's just like when you, only seem to give a darn about you, which is, by the way, how the NFL is coming off. It's, I don't know. When you start acting like you are the behemoth. Oh, geez. The suit wants a refund on the game yesterday. They shouldn't have bought it. I told you not to buy it. Never listens to me. He wants a refund. When I recommended, you don't buy it.
I was going to say, which line's longer for refunds? Steelers fans or Texans fans?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Who said I went to practice last night? Right, I went to practice last night. Yeah, the practice wasn't that long. I was missing nothing. I didn't miss anything. Goodness gracious. It was just bad football.
The Sixers actually won a big game. You missed that.
And based on the ratings, most of America did too.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. So, and for the NBA, a lot of ways, that really is the opening. It's not opening day. They've already had opening day, but
they've had Christmas Day since I was a kid.
Yeah, it really is kind of their initial big-time salvo into, that gets them into the consciousness. And they're the regular season ratings for the NBA are just not good. This NBA Cup is just a gimmicky idea with courts that don't look like basketball courts, and they can tout it all they want. It has not attracted the interest of the casual fan at all. When you start getting into gimmicks, okay, let's take baseball. They're talking about, what's it called? The golden at-bat, or what is it? Where suddenly you can bring up whomever you want in the order to hit. Now that's being floated around. When you start doing that stuff, I start to lose interest in what you're doing.
They do have time to figure it out. It's not like, they have their TV in place for 10 years.
You're talking about
the NBA.
The NBA. Well, I know they have time to figure it out, but it's not like they sold next year. Prime Video is going to have it.
Yes.
Okay, fine. That's where it should be. But I think it's ridiculous. Nobody, unless you are really deeply engrossed in the NBA, does anybody know what group their team is? Does anybody really know what their group record is? Does anybody really know where you qualify and all this? Nobody knows. Who even won the thing this year? Was it Milwaukee?
Yes.
It's like...
Only because I was on desk on the night they played.
But that's a gimmick. Baseball did the right thing with pitch clocks, bigger bases, and so forth. Okay, but when it comes to this new idea about the at-bat, I mean, cut me a break. I mean, it's only an idea. They're not doing it yet, but it's only an idea. Why? What are you trying to do with this? Yeah, you got a batting order. You happen to be out of the order? Fine. I mean, you also take away from the fact that the guy, let's give an example, Scott Brocious. He wouldn't be the guy you'd select, yet he was the guy who kept getting all the key hits for the Yankees in the postseason. Right? Back 25, 30 years ago.
It's funny, when that came out a couple weeks ago, apparently Manfred had said it in a podcast in like August.
Yeah.
And apparently Jason Stark was bored in the offseason and found it and wrote a whole story on it. And that's what sparked people talking about it again, which I found amusing. But
it's ridiculous.
I don't understand why they think baseball is so boring. Like, I mean.
Because they're being okay. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. You want to know why? Because there are people out there who have a bully pulpit. Okay? And the bully pulpit belongs to members of the media. Okay? And the vast majority go with the flow, enjoy it, and there are those who have opinions about it that, by the way, most don't follow the sport on a daily basis. Oh, it's boring, it's dull, it's this, it's that. Perception. Okay? Well, I go to a baseball game. I'm not bored. I enjoy it. Took my grandkids, my son-in-law, to their first game back in, when did we go? May last year. Had a blast. Had a great time. I'm watching the World Series. We're on the road, and Freeman hit the home run. I was on the road where Wisconsin? I think I was at Wisconsin. All right, watching the game. And I wasn't bored. It was exciting. It was fun. I like the pitch clock making a move. I mean, when you get guys like just stepping out, walking around, now that stuff's wrong. Okay, pitch. How many times you heard me say in the show, get the ball and just pitch, will you? Let's go. Okay. Well, now they're forcing them to do that, and I think that's great. Okay? The rules happen because you guys actually abuse the rules. But you have this, and the NBA's this, and it's great, and it's this, and it's great, and like the fans. See, again, it's amazing how what the fans think don't match up with the narratives. The fans tell you all the time the NBA regular season ratings stink. Why? It's not a great product. Sorry. Okay? NBA Cup, we'll do a gimmick. Fans are like, what is this? Again, on the ground. Okay? You can have as many media people tell you, it's great, it's awesome, it's great, let's go, it's great. Yeah, okay, I get it. You guys are affiliated with the NBA. I got that part. Okay. But that's... baseball's boring, it's dull, it's the... No, guess what? It's... I love baseball. Pace is beautiful. All right? Now, there are a couple of things I would change. I don't like the 3-batter rule for relievers. I don't like that. Doesn't mean everything's perfect about it, but I love watching a game. Right? I don't mind tweaks being made to games, but don't make tweaks because some loudmouth says you're boring. The fans tell you whether it's boring or not. The fans tell you that. The people on the ground. We have too many, quote, experts in this country on a wide variety of scales that in the end, when you look back, actually don't know what they're talking about. The people on the ground every time will tell you what's real and what isn't. People on the ground. Average people will tell you every time what's working and what's not. Every time. They need to be listened to. They need to be listened to, not the loudmouth in the studio. As a loudmouth sits in the studio and tells you this. So.
I was going to say there's louder mouths than us.
I know, right? And they'll scream and they'll try and force something down your throats to what they think. They need to change the team nickname because because I'm a loudmouth. It's like, okay, right? It's great to be so intellectually superior to the rest of the world. Okay. This is about politics, but it's about politics not in this country. But we have to respect the intellect of the people out there. And I'll give you an example. Remember when Brexit was voted in England, Great Britain, and all the outlying areas voted for England to not be a part of the European Union. And in London, the vote was heavy in favor of... You know what the primary complaint was from those who lost? We lost to a bunch of farmers. Bunch of farmers? Really? Bunch of farmers? Really? So what does the pH of the soil have to be so you have your best crop? How much water do you actually need to do this? Why do you rotate fields on a year-by-year? Why? Explain this to me. And you know what you find out? The people who say they're just farmers can't give you the answers. Everybody is good at what they do. Sports teams need to listen to the people on the ground. They're the experts on their own lives and what they can afford, what they can't afford, and what they like and what they don't like. They need to be listened to. They're your consumers. Jim Larrañaga stepping down in Miami. 75. One of the really great guys out there. I can't say enough nice things about Jim Larrañaga. Turned 75 in October. They're off to a rugged start this year. Bill Courtney is now the interim head coach there. I think they're 4-8 right now.
The old BC guy?
Larrañaga?
No,
Larrañaga.
Didn't Bill Courtney play at BC?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. And Larrañaga, of course, George Mason, 14 years, got him to the Final Four in 2006. Yeah. Also was at Bowling Green for a period of time, assistant coach at Davidson, Virginia. He goes far enough back as an assistant coach at Virginia. One of his players was Ralph Sampson. That's 6 coaches in the ACC that have stepped down since April of 2021. Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Mike Bray, Jim Boeheim, and Tony Bennett. Miami has lost 8 of their last 9 games. This is in spite of the fact that they have John Ruiz as their prime contributor to NIL. Back with more in a moment here on by the way, Toledo leads Pitt 6-2 in the first quarter. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
There's something to be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
Yep, great to have you with us on the show today. Toledo leading 6-2.
I almost thought Pitt was in the Sun Bowl again with that score.
Yeah. Bill Courtney actually played at Bucknell, Doug said.
Oh, I knew the
Bucknell
name.
Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame. He was that former head coach at Cornell for 4 or 5 years. So there you go. Meanwhile, he suits the former head coach of a CYO team.
I was going to say, the way my team played this year, I probably might be too.
No, I mean, I talked to the kids that he coached. He said all he did was make us run all the time. He was always mad. I'm going, well, I need to win. Okay.
Was Matt his assistant?
Yes. I'm telling you right now, when those little guys get to Little League, I'm going to a game. I'm going to watch him freak out every time they swing and miss. What are you doing?
Now, see, I was like that when I was younger, too, but I have mellowed out greatly. So maybe he will as well.
No.
Okay.
Have you heard the show? If there's any point he should have mellowed out, it should have been now in the show. I mean, he acts like he's an investor in the Eagles. Yeah. I own part of the Yankees. I can see why you're mad. Okay.
I would say if you only know Matt from this radio show, you'd be shocked how mellow he is in real life.
Oh, actually he is, yeah. He is. But boy, when it comes to his team, he wants everybody fired.
Yes.
Yeah, but you won last night. Yeah, but it was closer than it should have been. Fire him. Okay. Just making sure.
That Philly fan stuff runs deep in him.
Ooh. We were talking about that yesterday, about Santa Claus being pelted with snowballs yesterday at practice, and about Dollar Dog Day, they're throwing hot dogs at each other. Yeah, at some point, you got to act like you're actually really good and not, and ditch the little brother stuff.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia. Routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. For Kia Hyundai, best of new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. They go over every vehicle with a fine-tooth comb. And a great service department. Quick lane. Inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all. At Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. PenStateSports.com. All right. So here we are, countdown to the next round, and Penn State gets the New Year's Eve game with Boise State. Boise's a good defensive team. I mean, they average 3.9 sacks a game, about 8 tackles per loss per game. They've been, it's their front that creates the pressure. So for Penn State, it's the offensive line. It's going to come down to what Drew Shelton, Benga Ioane, Nick Dawkins, Sal Wormley, and Nolan Rucci do, and occasionally J.B. Nelson and Cooper Cousins, that can determine how this game plays out.
Well, I mean, one plus with that is at least the Penn State offensive line is playing as well as it has the last 2 games.
Yeah, no, they've played really well. I mean, they've really played well down the stretch here. I mean, really well. And what's interesting about this, when you get to the playoff part of it, now Oregon and Ohio State are a different animal altogether. This is the second time through for them. But Texas hasn't played Arizona State. Georgia hasn't played Notre Dame in for at least a couple of years. And Penn State has never played Boise State. So you have a lot of unknowns about matchups until you actually start playing the game. That's what's so interesting about this. You really don't know. Didn't know about until you saw the matchups with SMU. Now, I guessed. And kind of used the gauge of Oregon to give me a gauge on SMU. Is it kind of a poor man's Oregon in my mind? And it turned out I was right. You know, a lot of speed at the skill positions, but you could see in the line of scrimmage, especially the offensive line, did not play as well as Oregon's. And you could see it in the game. But again,
Can you get any read on Boise on the from their Oregon game tape? Because I mean, it was before Oregon got their offensive line's problem solved.
You know what's interesting about that is that game is so long ago.
I watched it in shorts. I do know that.
I haven't watched it. The reason I haven't watched it is like Oregon's different now than they were that night because they've shuffled their offensive line around since. Boise's different than that night. So I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I mean, maybe I will look at it. I mean, I've got the availability to do it. But I haven't. And that was, the second game of the season?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think it was still in August even.
Yeah. You just don't, That's what's so tough about it. Is like even if it were mid-season, okay, all right.
I mean, you go the other way. If it was if somebody's common opponent was West Virginia, you certainly wouldn't get much on this current Penn State team from that first game of the year either. So.
Right, that's my point. Like you go back to West Virginia, and Donko's playing and Winston's playing and how the style of game you're playing and everything that goes with it. Now, I don't know. Because of Ashton Genty, like how much does Boise State style change? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really good question. How much does their style actually change? Because,
I mean, other than, depending on where you put Oregon, I mean, this is probably the best defensive front they've seen all year, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's a definite. That's a definite.
I mean, because that's another part of Oregon's game that was not as good as it was, that wasn't as good then as it is now.
Right. So, I mean, these are all things you don't know just based on. It was so long ago. I mean, months ago. I mean, Penn State played on August 31st. I mean, that's 4 months ago. Yikes. That's a long time. That is a long time.
Wow. I was thinking the other day, I mean, we've been talking about this group of Penn State Nittany Lions, I think, since mid-January.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's one of those things. Unless you think about it, I don't even think I realized how long this season ends up being.
Right. It really is. I mean, yeah. It's. Let's see. Which games would I watch here? Okay, but I'm going to point out something that's interesting. At least I think. They play Georgia Southern, Oregon, Portland State, Washington State, Utah State, Hawaii, UNLV, 1, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, which brought them to the wire, Oregon State, UNLV, 2. Okay, so they played 13 games, right? Okay. Genty's rushed for 2,497 yards. He is a fabulous running back by anybody's book. Right? If you said that, if you were a Heisman voter and said you voted for him, you'd be justified in your opinion. Okay. So now, let's get to something. Remember with what I did with SMU, I did the numbers within the numbers.
Yes.
Okay. Genty has 2,497 yards. Really impressive. Okay. And of the 13 defenses they played, do you realize only 3 of them are ranked in the top 79 in rushing defense?
Oregon, UNLV.
And UNLV. Twice. All the other defenses they played in rushing defense are 79 to 127. How about that? I mean, again, just throwing it out there as numbers within the numbers. Okay? So let me see here. Let's go. Rush defense. Let's see. Okay. Do it. Let's see here. Let's see. Of course, these guys do a great job of fouling it up. Select an individual statistic. I don't care about that. Select a team stat. Third down conversions. Fourth down block kicks. Notre Dame's the king of block kicks. They got one kid that has 3 block kicks this year. Scoring defense. But again, they're they've got the NCAA has it all botched up on the numbers because they're just taking the playoff and bowl games. Like, yeah, you guys are. You worry about stuff like that. You just sit there and go, really? Let me see here. Have NCAA? May have the NCAA. Stats. Oh, let's see. Team stats. Okay. Rushing defense. Let's see. Opponent rushing attempts, rushing yards per game. Okay. Indiana's number 1. Penn State is 6. Okay. So Boise State, by the way, is 14th, 113 a game. That's their rush defense. Okay. UNLV is 24, so they played them twice. Right? Oregon's 35, played them once. Okay. And let's keep going here. Let's keep going. Ding, 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 ding. And let's see. Do you have their schedule in front of you? Georgia Southern, they played them, right?
Yes, that was their opener.
Yep, that was their opener. And Georgia Southern, where are they here? 95th, 175 a game. They played Nevada?
Yes.
Okay, 109 a game. 195 a game, 109. Wyoming, 17-13 game, 198 a game. They're ranked 113. Let's see what we got here. Who else? Georgia State. San Diego State, 220 a game, ranked 123. All right. I mentioned Oregon State, right? 110. Oregon State, 110. So you've got San Diego State at 123. Okay. You've got Wyoming at 113, Oregon State at 110, Nevada at 109. This is where they're ranked. Let's see. Georgia Southern, 95. Washington State, 90. Portland State's not even, that's an FBS school. That's why they aren't counted here. So this is 12. Anybody else I'm missing on there?
Utah State.
How about, did they play San Jose State?
Yes.
Okay, San Jose State I found. San Jose State 63, 150 a game. And Utah State? Okay, Utah State. Where is Utah State? 124, 222 a game. That's who they're playing. So they've got 63 through 124. That's 9 of their games. They have 3 in the top. There are 3 between 24 and 35. And 2 of them are the same team, UNLV. Really? How about that?
The other part of that is there's so much Genty talk that you don't hear much about the quarterback. And why I was looking to the schedule, he hasn't topped 200 yards except for once in the last month.
But he doesn't have to, and he's thrown. And you know what? Let's give credit where credit's due. He's only thrown 2 interceptions this year. Okay? Now, if you're wondering about who Penn State's faced, Ohio State is 7th. UCLA is 5th. So UCLA 5, Ohio State 7, SMU 10. That's who Penn State's played among rushing defenses. All right? Minnesota 26. Let's see what else you got here. Ding, 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 ding. USC 47. So, 3 games in the top 63. So we'll do that. And Penn State against rushing defenses. Bowling Green's 58, by the way. So in the top 63, Boise State's faced 3. Penn State's faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Penn State's faced 8 in the top 62 in rushing defense. 8. How about that? Numbers within the numbers. Interesting. In fact, I'll take it one more step in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
The holidays are a time of year to celebrate and reflect. Reflect on the past year, a year filled with challenges and uncertainty. Uncertainty that bred resilience and hope. Hope for healing, change, new beginnings, and unity. United as one people, one community, by one mission, to safeguard and protect what matters most. From all of us at Purdy Insurance, we wish you health, happiness, and joy this holiday season and success in the new year.
All right, the other part, too, is the rushing offenses they've faced so far this year. So 12 opponents, because you have to throw out Portland State. They're an FCS team. 12 opponents, 8 in rushing offense are ranked between 47 and 127. And remember, of the 4 in the top 46, 2 of them are UNLV. Which, by the way, they did a good job against. It's just like numbers within the numbers. And Utah State's in that top 46. UNLV's there. It's twice, and Oregon's the other one. Well, okay. Just thought, again, numbers within the numbers. Well, he'll work on guests tomorrow. I know we'll get somebody. I have confidence. I already talked to Bauer. You just have to call him. He'll do it. I saw him at Mass on Tuesday night.
I did text him earlier today.
He'll get back to you. They have press conferences today.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow the media availability is after practice, okay? And the practice is in the morning, okay?
Well, hopefully that works out then.
We'll get him. All right.
Usually when this happens, now I'll get a hold of you at like 9 o'clock and the whole show will be filled up.
Sure, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping for. Okay? All right. Back tomorrow.